Scheduled meeting of March 5th, 2020. My name is Emily Lamb, and I will be presenting the cases to the board for their review in today's public hearing. Members of the public, at this time, please take a minute to turn off or otherwise silence your phones and devices. There it goes. So that the board can consider these cases without interruption. For these public hearings, I don't think the volume is going down. For these public hearings, the board reviews correspondence submitted in support of and opposition to these cases. The board also reviews correspondence and recommendations from other government agencies in preparation for the hearings. In today's hearing, staff will present the site plans, maps, photographs, and other documents that comprise the case record. At the conclusion of the staff presentation, the appellant will present his or her case to the board. After the appellant's presentation, the board will hear those wishing to speak in support of the appeal. If the appeal has opposition, the board will then hear from those people in opposition to the appeal. After the opposition presents its testimony, the appellants will have a period for rebuttal. According to the BZA rules, the appellant has 5 minutes for presentation if there is no opposition present. In contested cases, the BZA rules allow 10 minutes for each side to present their testimony. Should the appellant wish to provide rebuttal testimony, the appellant should reserve some portion of the allotted 10 minutes. At the conclusion of each hearing, the board will deliberate and then vote on that case. The board is vested with the power to act on these cases under the provisions of the Metro Zoning Code, Section 1740-180. All section numbers that we refer to come from the Metro Zoning Code, which applies to the entire jurisdiction of the metropolitan government. The zoning code was adopted by the Metro Council and became effective on January 1st, 1998. I will introduce the entire zoning code and make it a part of today's record. The Metro Code requires 4 members of our 7-member board to establish a quorum. The code also requires at least 4 affirmative votes to grant an appeal. In the event that 5 or more members are present but the appeal fails to receive 4 affirmative votes, the case will remain on the board's agenda for 30 days. Applications that fail to receive 4 affirmative votes within 30 days of the public hearing will be deemed denied by operation of law. Pursuant to board rules, an aggrieved party may appeal board decisions to Chancery or Circuit Court within 60 days of the entry of the BZA order. Additionally, as per the BZA rules, an aggrieved party may file a motion for rehearing by the BZA within 60 days of the original hearing date. After that time elapses, the board's decision becomes final and no further action can be taken. If your appeal is granted, you are required to obtain the permit for which you applied. A permit must be obtained within 2 years for board approval to remain valid. It should also be noted that if false or misleading testimony is presented to the board, any board approval could be revoked at a later date by means of a show cause hearing before the BZA. Mr. Chairman, I submit that all cases have been filed in proper order, all appellants have been notified by certified mail, and all legal notice requirements have been fulfilled. I do have some preliminary announcements regarding deferrals and withdrawals. First, case 2020-037. The parking variance portion of that request was the only portion that remained before the board. That particular part of the request has been withdrawn. Next, case 2020-038 has been deferred to April 2nd. Case 2020-039 has been withdrawn. 2020-057 has been deferred to March 19th. 2020-057, deferred to March 19th. Case 2020-058 has been also deferred to March 19th. And case 2020-055, this is on the STRP docket, that has been deferred to April 2nd. For members of the public, our board utilizes a consent agenda at each of its meetings. One board member reviews the record for each case prior to the hearing and identifies those cases which meet the criteria for the requested action by the appellant. If the reviewing board member determines that testimony in the case would not alter the material facts in any substantial way, the case is recommended to the board for approval. We'll enter into the record those cases that have been so recommended, and if anyone is here in opposition to one of the cases identified for consent, please raise your hand, make sure I see you, and we'll pull that case off of the consent agenda and hear it in its regular order. Mr. Chairman, these are the cases that have been recommended for the consent agenda. First, case 2019-478 involving property at 650 Putnam Drive. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 478? Seeing none, next case 2020-059 involving property at 156 Davidson Road. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 59? Case 2020-060 involving property at 616 Estes Road. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 60? Seeing none, to review, Mr. Chairman, the three cases on consent agenda are 2019-478, 2020-059, and 2020-060. We would solicit a vote from the board at this time.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
I have a motion.
All right, this is second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
Members of the public, if your case was just approved on consent, you're welcome to stay, but you're free to go. Please give our staff until Monday to process all the required documentation associated with your appeal. At that point, you can come in and pursue the permits for which you've applied. Mr. Chairman, at this point, we typically call on elected officials who are in attendance. I don't see any here today. Oh, Councilman Parker is here? He may want to wait until the case is what he did last time, but if he wants to address the board, he can. Mr. Michael will see if he can find Councilman Parker, and if he wants to address the board now, we can do that, and otherwise we'll go ahead and move forward with the first case to be heard, unless there are any other announcements. All right. The first case for the board to consider if the applicant wants to come forward is case 2020-049. This is involving property at 908 Cheatham Place. This is a request for a variance from garage door orientation requirements to construct a single-family residence. The board will likely remember this case. It was previously heard at the last hearing and deferred, I believe, for the applicant to speak to his council member. I'll give you a quick review of this case. The zoning map here shows you the zoning is R6A. This is the aerial photography giving you a sense of the surrounding area. This is the site plan that was submitted by the applicant, and finally the current conditions of the property. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 49? Seeing none, the board can go ahead and proceed with this case. If you want to hear from the applicant regarding his conversations with the council person.
Yeah, if you would turn your microphone on and tell us your name and address, and then bring us up to speed where we are.
James Crockett, 934 Gallatin Road. So I basically been in exchange with Freddie O'Connell, but he wasn't able to get back with me. I sent him a text this morning, and he said he's been busy with everything that's going on. So I would assume, I guess I would like to have it deferred to the next meeting.
Okay.
Just to give me time to talk to him.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. And let me just tell you, if we will defer, I'm happy to, and I think everybody else will too. But if you feel like that you need to defer it again, again with the tornado and everything else, everybody's busy. If the next meeting comes along and you still haven't been able to have that conversation, just notify staff and we can defer it without you having to come down here and do that. So just to not waste you having to come down here and that kind of thing.
That's great.
Well, I mean, if we do it for the next time, then he can defer it and push it down as he needs to, and that way, when he's ready, he can come back instead of if he gets it done sooner, then he doesn't have to wait. If that's okay, so I'll move that we defer this to the next meeting with the applicant's ability to defer that again if need be. And that second, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All right, we will see you soon. Thanks and good luck.
Yep, thanks.
Next case for the board to consider is case 2020-052 involving property at 1009 Dickerson Pike. This is a request for a special exception from height requirements. The board will also recall this one from the last meeting. You heard it and deferred it so that Mr. Cuthbertson could discuss some of the concerns with the council member. Quick recap for you. Zoning map here shows you the zoning of the property is CL. This is the aerial photography showing you the property and surrounding areas. Site plan submitted by the applicant, and finally the current conditions of the property. Is there anyone here in opposition to this case? So seeing none, you may want to hear from Mr. Cuthbertson regarding his conversation with the council person on this particular project.
if it's okay, I'll give you guys a couple minutes to look at those emails related to the case.
All right.
So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dwayne Cuthbertson, 1806 Allison Place. As a quick refresher, we have a special exception request before you to increase the building height for a structure in the CL zoning district. Our request would essentially allow for a fourth story on this building to be pulled closer to the street. That's the only element of relief that we are requesting of this board. We have every intention of meeting every other requirement of the Metro Zoning Code. This is also in a design redevelopment district, so it's subject to MDHA design review and approval. And so the next step for us would be to submit plans to that agency for review and approval. At the last hearing, we talked about the building height, but we also spent quite a bit of time on the design of the site at the street. And the council member came, and if I'm remembering correctly, he had concerns about parking and loading along Dickerson Pike. That's a subject that we had already touched on with some of the review entities, Public Works, MDHA, and Planning, and they told us pretty clearly that they wouldn't support it previously. So we brought this board a site plan that did not include parallel parking or drop-off space along Dickerson Pike. We still had the conversation with you all at the last hearing, and we committed that we would go back to those agencies and essentially put it back in front of them and get additional feedback. So we did that, sent the plan to Ben York, who's lead reviewer for Public Works, and you have an email in front of you where he says they would not support these improvements because of planned, the major Collector Street plan calls for dedicated transit on there, and parallel parking would conflict with those future plans. With that said, you also have an email in front of you from Marty Sewell, who is the transportation planner at the planning department, and he said that they would potentially support temporary improvements along Dickerson Pike. Fortunately, both of those guys sit on MDHA's design review board. So I would submit to this board that our request to you is very specific, and it's related to building height. It's unrelated to the street design, and regardless of how this board decides on our special exception request, I suspect the design of the street is still going to be an issue, and it's one that we will have to address at the MDHA Design Review Board, which is our next step, again, regardless of how this board rules today. So we did what we were asked to do. I did provide the communication from Ben York to Councilmember Parker, and I did commit to him that we will be open with our communication with him and working with him as we move forward. He didn't respond for obvious reasons. I did not have time to get Marty Sewell's communication to him. That just came to us today. But we are committed to working with Councilmember Parker as we move forward, regardless of how this decision is rendered today. I just submit to you guys that we meet the requirements for a special exception. We feel like our request to increase the height just in that small triangular area up at the street setback, it does satisfy all the requirements that you all use to review special exceptions. It meets a very relevant and recently adopted small area plan for Dickerson Pike South, and effectively what we presented to you tries to implement exactly what that plan wants on Dickerson Pike. So again, we'll work with the council member as we move forward. He'll certainly have every opportunity to work with MDHA with our design review, and I'd ask for you all to approve the special exception today.
Would you be opposed to a condition that the site plan that you proposed to MDHA include the parking that we're talking about here, that the council member talked about, and that the final result is dependent upon what MDHA approves. But basically, and I appreciate all the work. I mean, it looks like a lot of work. It looks like you've talked to a lot of folks and you're getting conflicting information, which is what you told us at the last hearing that you were having. But it also looks like you've opened the door to the possibility of a temporary solution until mass transit comes, which hopefully sooner rather than later, but who knows, right? And so, you know, as long as your proposals continue to show those spaces and they're pushed until, because I mean, clearly it would, I mean, you said even at the last hearing, that was your client's first preference was to have those, and they were taken out because of, because of the response that you got from the different agencies.
Yeah, and I've actually got a copy of the site plan that we initially submitted, and it shows the pull-in spots that we were asking for in the first place that they rejected. So absolutely, if planning, public works, everybody can come together and agree on a temporary basis, they're willing to support some sort of pull-in, pull-out parallel parking on Dickerson, I think that would be our preference, is to include that.
Okay. And I know last time we talked about, I mean, the planning department had recommended approval for the project, so they clearly felt like that you'd met the criteria or the conditions of the special exception. And then, you know, there's always that kind of neighborhood impact aspect that we wanted to explore as fully as possible, which is why we asked you to come back.
Sure.
Which looks like that actually was some progress made, right? At least you have some folks talking and it may be possible.
Sure.
May be possible.
And we've reached out to a lot of abutting neighbors and have indicated as we go forward, no matter how we go forward, what we do could potentially impact them. So absolutely, here's our contact information. Stay in touch with us.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Any questions? Anything else to add?
No, sir.
All right, we'll close the public hearing.
I believe the project meets the criteria for the special exceptions, so I will move for approval. Is that the right way to say it?
Would you accept the recommendation I just had made that the condition that all site plans show the parking, the curb cut parking that's been discussed, and that we'll rely on MDHA's design review committee to ultimately decide what is included because of the two folks that are involved. I mean, they've got, basically you've got the two folks that are, I think, going to decide it, according to the applicant, the planning department and public works, that can negotiate it, but it seems like the planning department's proposal for a temporary solution is ideal, and as long as they continue to show that on the site plans until the design committee says no, you can't do it at all, and if that's the case, then I just want it to just, hey, continue to push it until you're finally told by another agency no, and if that case is fine. But I agree with you, they met the criteria for the special exception.
So I can amend that to include that the site plan will show the drop-off parking, and just leave it at that, because I don't know that MDHA is the final decider.
Right. Second. Have a motion, have a second. Any additional discussion?
Mr. Chairman, can I just clarify, if MDHA does come back and say, no, it's TDOT, for whatever reason, they come back and they do ultimately say, no, you can't have that parallel parking.
Then you're fine.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we were clear, okay.
The only thing that I was going to say is that I'm a little weary to support the motion only because the council person did make the effort to come last time, and I know that parts of his district were affected by the storm, and Marty's email came in at 9:45 a.m. this morning, so I don't know if he's even had the opportunity to look at this. So I think because he made such an effort to show up last time and to share his perspective on this particular project, I'm sort of a little reticent to support the motion.
Do you want to open the public hearing to see if the applicants had a conversation with the council person?
Sure.
I shared Mr. York's communication, and Councilmember Parker still had some concerns related to street design, and I effectively responded saying, I appreciate the concerns, and these are some things that we'll continue to work through as we go through MDHA. I didn't have time to get Marty's communication to him, and I don't know that he would have looked at it anyway today. So, the only thing I would submit is, again, what we're asking for is height related. The council member's only concerns, I could be wrong, but I think his only concerns were related to site layout as it concerns the street frontage and parallel parking. And those are certainly issues that we will have to work through at MDHA. And, I can reach out to him and let him know what happens here, of course. And he'll be involved at the MDHA level as well. So I'd like to submit that those are somewhat unrelated, but that we will commit to working with him at the next step on that street design.
He has a role in the design. I mean, they have to approve the design. Design. I mean, we give you permission to have a fourth floor. That doesn't mean that they're going to approve that design with the fourth floor as is. So there is still an opportunity for him to weigh in and express those concerns. Mm-hmm. It's unusual that we get, that we're not, not that we have to be or should be the final say, but that just want to make sure it's an unusual case. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, we'll reclose the public hearing. And we have a motion and a second. And did you have anybody have other thoughts?
I didn't have any other thoughts other than I think the applicant has demonstrated that he has worked and taken a lot of effort to work with different agencies and gotten different advice, and that I appreciate it.
All right, any other thoughts? Okay, we'll vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye and raise your hand. And those opposed? So that motion does not pass 3-2.
My reason for voting the way I did was similar to what Ms. Davis said, and you had a very active council member who had the concerns, and I know he's going to get another shot at it in another forum, but it was before this forum, and I really wish we could have pushed this down for another, because the city is still trying to pick up its pieces, so to speak.
Well, there hasn't been a decision, so it's still possible to defer the case a meeting to hear from the council member. But I guess that
if he would ask that, I'd certainly.
Well, anybody can. I guess the only thing I will say is, and I do appreciate Christina's comment about meeting the criteria, and it's a really. I don't want to take advantage of or not to take advantage, because the vote is to do everybody's going to vote on what they think is right. But with the timing and the council member, but even the issues that were raised are kind of marginally associated with the criteria. That's I think that, and I'm not sure. To me, I look at what are the options. The options he said last time, where you move the building back so you can get your 4 stories, which is less in sync with the plan, but certainly acceptable within the code. So he could have his building; it just would be pushed back, and yet every possibility to have that pull out is, you've got the 2 people who are the deciders, and if they agree, then it's done. Right now, they're not, but it seems like that there's a window to achieve it, even though I think he probably met the special exception without it. But
And
like
Mr. Chairman, if I could interject here just briefly for the sake of clarifying for the record. Mr. Lawless and Ms. Davis, I think, are the two who voted against it. It may be prudent to specify what provisions, special exception criteria you find that they don't meet. By law, if this board determines that they meet the special exception criteria, I don't think that you have the authority to deny it. You certainly have the authority to determine that they don't meet that criteria. I just think it would be good for the record to clarify what they don't. And there are, of course, general.
But there is a community impact.
Yeah, I was about to get to the general. There are general and specific criteria. There's a general provisions related to compliance with applicable, integrity of adjacent areas would not be negatively impacted. Design and architectural compatibility, natural features in residential zones must comply with the non-residential tree protection regulations. Traffic impact will not be adversely affected. Those are the general provisions. So if you find that it does not meet one of the general provisions, you could deny it. There are also specific provisions related to height special exceptions that say that if the proposed building height does not create an adverse impact on the air, light, shadow, or wind velocity patterns due to the configuration of the building relative to the maximum permitted height standards of other buildings in the area. So again, if you find that it doesn't meet that, or if you find that it doesn't, if you were to find that it does negatively, affect the integrity of adjacent areas, or that it does not meet the natural features are not complied with respect to the tree protection regulations. So that's a very quick overview. I just wanted to clarify for the board, since we don't often get to this point, that it might be good to specify what criteria it does not meet.
Yeah. Well, or we, I guess I'll ask you all if you would, if you want to review and get into that, or if you would rather have the time to hear from the council person, which would be, the next meeting, which may. Okay. Is that a motion?
I can make a motion, we defer this for one meeting to allow the council member to come back in, because he is the best indicator for the community and the area.
And based on the extraordinary circumstance of the tornado in his district.
Correct.
A second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Is there any discussion?
I'm going to vote in favor of it, but I did want to point out that the planning department, their last sentence was preference for long-term is for drop-offs to occur via rear alley. So I'm not sure that anyone is going to be able to accomplish what I think all parties would like, which is the drop-off at the front, without a larger conversation with the council person and the planning department, which I don't think is related to this special exception request. But I'm going to vote in favor of the motion.
I'm going to vote in favor of it too, but I think they've met all the requirements of the special exception too.
Well, and I agree, but I think, again, the goal is to get to an answer and in a way that's everybody's comfortable, or at least four of us are comfortable, and is, in my opinion, fair to all involved, and this seems to be the best path for that. So if they're in a discussion.
The only thing that I was going to add is, after review of the criteria, and I felt like from the last hearing, the council person sort of presented testimony that gave sort of indication that there might be negative community impact, negative environmental impact, negative traffic impact, which were a part of the general criteria. I understand that this is a special exception related to height, but that's sort of why I deferred it in, after further thought and more evidence from the next hearing, I might change my vote, but that's sort of why I made the motion
Right.
and why I was reticent.
Right. All right, is there any other discussion? All right, all in favor of the deferral one meeting? Any opposed? We will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you. Next case.
Case 2000. 20054 involving property at 167 McCall Street. This is a request for a variance from the sidewalk requirements to construct a single-family home without building sidewalks or paying into the sidewalk fund. Before you is a zoning map showing the zoning of the property is RS10. This is the aerial photography showing you the surrounding area. Site plan submitted by the applicant. And finally, the current conditions of the property. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 54? Seeing none, the appellant will have 5 minutes to make your desired presentation. Please be sure to identify yourself by name and address. Before you speak, I want to give the board some more quick background. This case was previously, they previously applied for the waiver as required by the law. The waiver request was reviewed by the necessary departments, and ultimately the waiver was denied. Because the property is eligible to contribute to the in lieu fund. After that denial was issued, the applicant then, as they are allowed to do by law, is now appealing to the board for a reconsideration, basically, of their request. Same request, not to build and not to pay, and same recommendation by the planning department.
All right, if you press a button and make sure the red light's on. There you go.
Good afternoon, board.
Tell us why you're here.
Absolutely. My name is Jason Mays, currently residing at 169 McCall Street, right next to the property that we're building our house on. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for being here, and thank you for your service to our city. I'm here today requesting a variance from the sidewalk requirement for the sheer fact of the safety and the aesthetics of the neighborhood. If you will look at the map there, you will see a sidewalk that is on the opposite side of the street that we are building on. That stretches all the way from Nolensville Road down to the Antioch Pike, McCall Street, or at least most of the way down from the Antioch Pike to McCall Street intersection where those two roads come together. There is no sidewalk on our side of the street. It's my understanding there will not be a sidewalk anywhere on our side of the street at any time soon. If we were to put a sidewalk in on our side of the street, there is a possibility of a safety issue with people using the sidewalk strictly in front of our house and then having to cross over a road that is very heavily traveled without any kind of pedestrian walkway or anything of that sort. I do have our council lady, Miss Jenny Walsh, here today in support of us. I have also brought my contractor here to answer any questions in detail as to this issue. We have spoke to a number of our neighbors who are in favor of this variance as well. A number of them stated that they would be here today, but I don't believe any of them were able to make it. So your help in this matter would be greatly appreciated.
Good afternoon. I am Councilwoman Jenny Welsh from District 16, and I'm here in support of Mr. Mays and his request for a sidewalk waiver. We have various streets within my district that have sidewalks that go to nowhere. They don't enhance the look of the neighborhood. They do present safety problems. There isn't really any sort of immediate possibility that we will have more sidewalks built on that side of the street, so I don't see that this sidewalk is going to really enhance the neighborhood in any way, shape, or form. Our district was downzoned many, many years ago for single-family residences. I believe what they are building on this property is going to enhance the neighborhood. It has been an empty lot. I don't see that building the sidewalk is a positive impact on the district, so that I ask that you support their waiver.
So, but I guess just
Mr. Chairman, just for your own knowledge, there are other people here who would like to speak in support. So if you, after your questions, we may want to call on other members.
Sure. Just so we know the process, I mean, we're not here for the waiver, right? We're here because they applied for a waiver that goes to the codes department, and that was denied because they said, I guess they can pay into the fund, which the planning department had recommended that they pay, the in lieu fee.
That's
and
right.
So they're just appealing that decision.
Well, they're not appealing it in terms of an item A appeal to say that
Right.
they're applying for variance.
They're just applying for the
waiver
variance.
is just a new first step so
I
that it
guess the
can be
question-
handled administratively if possible, if it's done, if we choose to do that.
And I think this may be the first one we've had where
think it might be.
Where
We've got a couple on
they
this
went
docket.
to codes first and then appealed the codes
Right.
department's
So
decision.
this is just a straight up variance as far as from the sidewalk requirements as far as
Right,
this board
which-
is concerned.
The facts matter here, Mr. Chairman, in that the decision issued on the sidewalk waiver request after helpful input from the applicant and from the council member was not an outright denial, but in fact a determination that they should be, and are eligible to pay into the sidewalk fund at this location. Also, unless I've got the wrong case in front of me, I don't think I do. Also, if the site is redeveloped at some future date, that they would be required to provide the site work for the sidewalk construction. But obviously with construction of a single-family home, you don't anticipate redevelopment of a site for many, many, many years. It's a bit of a technicality, but nevertheless, this was not an outright go jump in the lake denial. We issued quite a few of those on the waiver basis. However, with regard to the variance, completely appropriate for them to be here. Yes, it is the first that's come to you through this particular procedural sequence. You have a couple others on today's docket, I think. I think one was deferred. And you'll have them from time to time. A question you've asked before that I think is pertinent here. We go through about 30 of these a month, so literally well over 100 now have been processed through the waiver mechanism that's now in place pursuant to city's ordinance, thus keeping those cases away from the board, which we think is yielding quicker results, being reviewed by Public Works, Planning, Stormwater, and Zoning. However, on this one, they're absolutely right. There's no sidewalk there. They're absolutely right. It's a long shot that there ever be a sidewalk on that street or on that side of the street, which is why the sidewalk fund was deemed the appropriate response with regard to this new construction at McCall. That was the factual background that was worthy of pointing out as you go through the rest of your analysis.
Okay, thank you. So the question is, could you tell me how many what is the square footage of the front of your property if you were to pay in the sidewalk fund? And then let me know why it's appropriate. Why was it not appropriate for you to pay something into the fund?
Sure. This is my builder, Sean Roberge.
Hi, Sean Roberge, 925 North 5th Street. The Mays family has approximately 100 linear feet of street frontage. When we started this process, we went through the waiver process, said, okay, well, you can pay the in lieu fund, which is understandable. Lots of people have to deal with that day in and day out. But the reality of it is we can actually, this single family building on land that they're planning on moving themselves into, paying that in lieu fee of, like, well, we can actually get this done for significantly less than what it costs to pay the in lieu fee of. And so we go back to do that. We get back to the water department, and the water department, stormwater, has said, actually, in order to do this, you're going to have to tear up the street, three parcels in each direction to put in stormwater infrastructure and tie into the catch basins currently on that side of the street, which would then require us to go get an additional grading permit on their behalf. So they have more than enough reason to be before this board today.
Do you know what's the average lot frontage in the neighborhood? Is this a larger lot?
It appears to be about, most of the houses on McCall Street appear to sit on similar size parcels of about 100 square feet, or 100 linear feet, excuse me.
Well, yeah, it looks like on this, some are bigger, some are smaller, and this seems to be on the medium to high side.
Right. So,
Well, what was the actual in lieu fee?
so the in lieu fee of came to $8,800, and we could get their sidewalks put in for about half of that. But we can't actually put in sidewalks without pulling a grading permit and putting in city stormwater infrastructure to the nearest catch basins across other individuals' parcels.
So when you're talking about the half of the 8,800, you're talking about if the site was flat and you would just put in a sidewalk?
Right, we could just put in a sidewalk just in front of the house, no problem, and really be more effective.
Okay. Any other questions at this point? Was it, all right, I'm sorry, keep going.
No,
Are there any other people that would like to speak, or?
do you want to speak?
Do you want to document the cost burden? The cost burden?
My name is Lofton Mays, and I live at 169 McCall, next door to where they're building the home. And it would look sort of funny to have just a stretch of sidewalk in front of one house and have to go to all the trouble and expense that it would cost to put this sidewalk in. And with all those children coming out of school, some of them come down over to our side of the street. But if they start trying to cross the street up there where the sidewalk is, I'm afraid the way the cars go up and down through there, some of them could get hurt.
Also, can I just say, as far as the fee in lieu of, we've already paid that. We had to pay that in order to get our building permit. That was not something that was planned for within our building, our construction loan. We weren't aware of that issue until we went to pull our permits. So that effectively took money out of our construction loan that we were planning to use for other aspects of building this house. So again, any help with this matter would be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, with permission, in case it's helpful information, because that's something you haven't heard before, and I definitely want to have an opportunity to address Mr. Lawless's eyebrows, which scrunched in consternation.
It was the
You are allowed-
reallocation of funds on a construction loan that caught my,
You are allowed to obtain a building permit if you meet the requirements for a building permit. For example, if you have a site plan demonstrating that you will in fact build the sidewalks required by law, which are in fact required here. In the alternative, if you do not wish to build the sidewalks, but you have or have been given permission to participate in the Sidewalk in Lieu Fund as an alternative to such sidewalk construction, then you may put up the fee to do so. The building permit will not walk out the door unless you have complied with the law by either A, submitting the approved site plan that shows the sidewalks, or B, exercising your option to participate in the sidewalk fund. That's an option. It's not a requirement. Getting the permit does require one of those two, and if you want it, that's the way to get it. They have completely done everything within their rights by being here today, by paying to get the building permit, allows folks to get started on the construction, which is helpful. We understand, of course, that sidewalks are the last part of a project like this, whether they're going to be constructed or not, so it's fine to issue the permit in that circumstance, but we're not in a position to issue those until we've seen that, yes, there is an approved site plan with sidewalks or a payment made to the fund. The question somebody should ask me right now would be, well, in the event that relief is granted, it's determined that they do not have to make a payment in the sidewalk fund, yes, a payment can be returned to the applicant or permit issuee, I suppose, for the payment to the sidewalk fund they've already made, if, again, the board or a court or whomever else decides that it need not be paid. I'm happy to address any other questions, but again, because this is the first one of these you've heard in this context, I wanted to share that information.
Great, thank you. Anything else that you all would like to add, or?
We're good, thank you.
Great. Was there any other questions?
It seemed like 8,800 is quite a bit to pay for the sidewalk, and there was a cap that was instituted at some point. Do you know if
The
that?
cap is 3% of the value of the construction costs. So I don't know what the construction costs are for this project, but whatever it is, it would be either approximately $150 per linear foot up to that 3% cap.
I guess we should ask the magic question, just how much it is.
Well, I mean, if it's 3%, it's, I mean, you just 240, 250, 270, something like that would give you, I mean, times 0.03, whatever, you know, $260,000 times 0.03 is about maybe 270, something like that. Whatever you get to 88, it's somewhere around there. Any other questions? No, we're still public hearing. We'll give everybody a last chance to say something. So, and I guess it, you know, and I'll just ask you, I mean, so you're asking for you'd like to have full relief, but if you don't get full relief, at least partial relief from the sidewalk fee. And that was part of why I was asking, you know, how does your lot compare to others in the neighborhood? You know, if it's bigger, you know, is there a case for a hardship?
It's my understanding that this law or rule kicks in when somebody's obviously building and or remodeling a house. All of the parcels along this stretch of road, with the exception of the parcel that we're building on, are already built on. Most of these homes are well established. I don't anticipate anybody else within this stretch of road hitting this requirement because of that. So I don't anticipate this being an issue anywhere else along this stretch of road.
Yeah, and it kicks in if you do a remodel or anything. I mean, we've seen all kinds of sidewalk cases, and, you know, the dilemma we're in is that the original sidewalk bill passed unanimously in the council, which is a great thing, and then I don't know what the vote was when it was amended to, you know, and so, and then with the new process, and so, you know, while it's easy to, you know, to see it's a lot of money and it's unanticipated money, we're trying to figure out, is there a path for us to, should there be a path, and if there is a path for any type of relief here. So that it's just kind of a tough situation that we're in. But I'll ask if you have anything else to add before that sounded more like discussion than anything else, but just to let you know kind of where we are as a board.
Sure, and I understand that, and I appreciate the position you're in. You know, $8,800 is a lot of money out of my pocket. Quite honestly, I pay taxes in this state. I pay taxes in this city my whole life. I'm born and raised here, and you know, it's a tough pill to swallow for us. We're not developers. I understand why the law was written. I understand the meaning behind the law, but I feel like we are an unintended consequence for this law. And again, that's a lot of money out of our pocket for something that, for all intents and purposes, is not ever going to be built on this particular road.
All right, we will close the public hearing.
So we've had a lot of these, and I always understand the applicant's position, but I always feel like my hands are tied on these because the Metro Council made a policy decision that when you go build a house and you trigger this sidewalk requirement, that's, you either have to pay or build, and they even made the policy decision about how much you have to pay. And the only way around that is if there's a hardship, and your financial situation can never be a hardship. So I feel like on these, and this has been the way I have ruled consistently, is that my hands are tied. I don't see a hardship other than a financial hardship, and I don't think nobody up here, everybody up here accepts $8,800 is a lot of money, and other people may disagree with me about how they turn out on these, but I get it's a lot of money, but I just feel like when Metro enacted that law, they put down a policy, and there has to be a hardship shown, and we know that you know, a financial consideration, that it costs money, is just not a hardship. And there have been a lot of people in my year and a half up here that have been in the applicant's same situation, and that's how I've always come out on it. So I think the applicant can contribute to the in lieu of fund.
Yeah, I don't mind some payment, and I'm trying to struggle with the, you know, is there a reason, or is there a possibility? Mainly out of respect, you know, for the council member coming, and you know, my predecessor, that was a big deal to him. You know, the council person's taking the time to come and speak on a case was really important, and I do respect that, and the neighbors, and also the situation, and we've seen it before, where what you think is a sidewalk isn't a sidewalk. You know, I mean, the sidewalk here is the infrastructure improvement that goes way beyond, you know, their property. And, you know, we had a case where, you know, the sidewalk meant that you also had to pave an alley curb, which wasn't on your property. And I'm still astounded that could be city policy to require you, as part of a sidewalk plan, to pay for something that's not on your property. But, you know, they apparently defer to the folks in the city that do that, or that made that decision, Public Works or whoever makes that decision, and that's how they interpret it. And you respect it, but you still see how there are kind of holes and issues in the situation. So, you know, it would be nice in some ways to be able to, for them to be able to pay what it would have cost them without having to do the stormwater infrastructure spanning multiple parcels, but we may not have I don't know that we have a avenue for that. I'm saying I'm very empathetic to the applicant.
May I respond to Mr. Pepper?
No, the public
Oh,
hearing's
okay.
closed, sorry. So, I mean, it may just be what it is, but I'd like to hear from everybody else, or whoever else wants to say something.
You're not going to get me not to have someone pay into the in lieu fund. It's just not going to happen, and it hasn't the whole time I've been on here. Yeah, $8,800 is a ton of money. However, we're also not what our fine council lady is. We're smart enough not to run for politics. So financial hardship isn't one of the criteria that I've, been able to go with. So you're right, Mr. Chairman. I think you're going to have a difficult time on this one if you're trying to work a consensus one way.
No, I mean, I'm just, and again, I appreciate y'all voting me
my heart
into this
goes out
job,
to
but
them.
I'm
Don't
only
get me wrong.
one-seventh of the
I feel their
members.
plight. It's just I don't see how I can get there.
No, ma'am, the public hearing's closed. All right.
So I'll make a motion that the application be denied because the applicant can pay into the in lieu of fund.
I'll second it.
There's a motion, there's a second. Is there any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Raise your hand. Opposed? That motion passes. Good luck.
Next case for the board to consider is case 2020-063. This is involving property at 400 East Trinity Lane. This is another request for a variance from sidewalk requirements in order to construct a single-family residence without building sidewalks or paying into the sidewalk fund. Before you is a zoning map showing the zoning of the property as RM 15A. This is the aerial photography giving you a sense of the surrounding area. Site plan submitted by the applicant, and finally, the current conditions of the property. This is another case that previously went through the waiver process. They filed for a waiver. The multiple departments reviewed it, considered it, made a recommendation to the zoning administrator, who ultimately denied the waiver request, and so they are now applying for a variance before the board. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 63? Seeing none, the applicant will have 5 minutes to make your desired presentation. Please be sure to identify yourself by name and address.
Good afternoon. Jacob Conaway, 400 East Trinity Lane. I'm coming before you today, obviously, for the sidewalk variance, so somewhat similar to the last case that we just heard. So I'm not sure where to start other than that there are some extenuating circumstances with the property itself, especially along Liskey Avenue, where it actually slopes and a fence exists. All around the corner lot, there are existing sidewalks, roughly 145 feet along Liskey Avenue, and I believe 52 feet along East Trinity Lane itself. My initial request was to have just a full variance, and I understand that the in lieu of fee is an option for me. This is a single-family home that I intend to build for myself and live in, and I don't know if you guys have any documentation on the front part of the lot along East Trinity, but there's actually a sewer easement that exists there that already takes up the vast majority of the front yard itself. And also, again, with the Liskey Avenue side, there being a slope that would interfere with the widening of the sidewalks.
Frontage do you have
I believe it's about 52 feet
on
the east
East Trinity?
Trinity Lane, yes, sir.
And then on
On the Liskey Avenue side, I believe it's about 140.
So, I'm sorry, did you say something about paying into the fund, or what were you talking about on that?
Well, initially, I didn't even realize that was an option. The planning department had sent something to me last week, basically stating that their recommendation was that I pay into the fee for the Liskey Avenue side, but not the East Trinity Lane side, since there is room for the actual sidewalk to exist, and there's no real contours in the land itself that would prevent the sidewalks from being built. Of course, that process would further delay my building of this house, in which I've already kind of been held up 3 months because of this process, unfortunately. But if there's a quicker, easier way to have this addressed, I'm certainly open to it.
And did you go through the waiver process too, or?
I did, yes, sir.
Okay. So these are all cases that couldn't have an agreement. So, I'm sorry, and the specific issue, because the planning department had recommended that you upgrade the sidewalks on East Trinity, and I think that was just, they said it would be easy to just add depth to the sidewalk. So I'm assuming that that's all that it would take is, and I don't know how much more sidewalk they'd want you to put in, but they seem to think through their analysis, and I would agree that, you could do that pretty easily, and they want you to pay on the Liskey side, which is the long side. Well, I mean, yeah, this board is often, when we're hearing all the cases, we'd often look at corner lots a little bit, because, with so much square footage.
Yeah, I understand that's why the updated ordinance was passed in the first place.
To make it 3%?
To make it 3% was for, corner
so
lots.
Did you have an issue with the 3% of the in lieu fee is the same?
Well, I guess that depends, right? If this board's willing to allow me to have a variance against it, then I would not want to pay into the in lieu fee. But if that's the best solution that's presented to me, I'm willing to accept it.
Okay, yeah, and I guess we ask because, the way that we're getting these cases now is that, the council passed a law. You've
Sure.
gone through the codes department, which takes into account the planning recommendations, and I'll assume that there was some discussion and talk about that, and you didn't agree with that, and so now you're here. So, yeah. I mean, we're kind of the third level down, and so.
Well, I will add that my boss actually owns the house, I guess 4 houses down from me, and went through this process and was granted the in lieu fee process instead of building sidewalks. There's no other sidewalks along that street all the way down to almost Galveston Pike, in which the sidewalks are, in fact, 8 feet wide. So I would literally be the only house on the street with that type of sidewalk. Does the fact that there is a sewer easement, does that come into play at all with that being right there on East Trinity?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, He would ask about if the sewer easement in his front yard came into play with some of the requirements.
I'll ask because I understand that that's one of the qualifications for a hardship, is the fact that there are easements involved.
Does it come into play with what? I mean, I think if the board determines that that's a hardship, the board can, would state that. I think that's up to the board's discretion if you determine that that's a valid hardship.
So if I'm a code question, if the applicant is required to pay any length of the property as the code's requirement or planning had recommended, so let's say if we chose to go with planning's recommendation and he makes the front bigger and pays for the side, it's still capped at the 3% of the project. Is that right?
That's right.
So, I mean, if he has 100 100 feet and it's $150 a foot, that's $15,000. But if 3% was, like the applicant before was 8, he'd be, 8 would be his,
That's right.
the lesser
It's
of
the
the
lesser of the
3%
two. And if
or
you-
that dollar per square foot.
That's right. And if he doesn't have the ability to contribute in lieu now, but you give him that ability, then it would kick in that allowance, which would trigger the cap if he meets it.
Okay. And then do we know why that wasn't an option? Okay, perfect. So there's no objection, or is there an objection that if they paid?
Look, this is not what was requested on the waiver. It's not a fault. He's allowed to ask for what he wants to ask for on the waiver. Most people, many people do ask for full relief, the no bill, no pay, no woman, no cry, Marley cases, as we sometimes call them. Because this was that, and we didn't bother to review other requests that weren't made. We do look at all the potential alternatives, and some of the factors that the review group considered had to do with the fact that this was a corner lot, that it is a walkable area, that it is a fast emerging area, that it is a place where the city would benefit from having a full and robust body of sidewalks. I'm sure some property 4 or 5 lots down did get some different outcome, because it's not a corner lot. Each lot is different, it's unique, has to be treated as such. And that certainly applies when you start talking about a substantial intersection in a fast emerging part of East Nashville. The board will do what it does, and that's fine. That we on the staff side have got more than enough say grace over that we don't mind either way, for sure. But no, that wasn't really reviewed carefully because it wasn't requested of us originally. That was a modified request in conjunction with the BZA appeal.
I would point out that because he made that request the second time, the planning department did review that request, and they recommended that he upgrade on Lishy and contribute on, upgrade on East Trinity and contribute on Lishy. So they did not consider it the first time because it wasn't requested. They did consider it the second time, and this is the recommendation they came up with.
Okay.
And I guess this is a question for the applicant. With planning's recommendation that, he contribute in lieu of for the frontage on Lishy and then upgrade on Trinity, I guess I'm wondering how the hardship impacts their particular recommendation, because it seems like they accounted for it. So I just want to hear your perspective on how do you feel like the hardship impacts planning's recommendation of contributing in lieu of on Lishy and then upgrading on Trinity?
So there is a cap, correct? The 3% cap? I guess maybe I'm having a little bit of trouble understanding that.
So whatever the cost of your construction is.
Correct.
The maximum you would have to pay if you contribute in lieu is 3% of that value.
Okay, so if I were to pay that 3% along Liskey, would I still be required to build the sidewalks along East Trinity?
It depends on what the board allows you.
That hasn't been
It depends on
determined.
what the board grants.
Understood.
Did it-
Yeah, I was just, that was my question, is how does the hardship impact that recommendation?
Which hardship?
The hardship that you listed, the hardship that you stated?
Right, I think that I listed several things. Now, are we talking about the Liskey Avenue side? Or the East Trinity Lane side?
You're the person that stated several hardships. I asked, how do those hardships impact the recommendation that planning gave?
Well, it seems like I would be kind of getting on both ends if I were to have to build sidewalks and contribute.
Okay.
Right.
Any other questions? Did you have anything else to add?
No, sir.
All right, we'll close the public hearing. I mean, that is kind of the only issue that I had with the planning department's recommendation too, is that because Lishy is so long, you most likely are going to be, you're going to hit that 3% cap, but then you're kind of double, are you being double hit because you're having to upgrade the one sidewalk? You all of a sudden, you're having to pay to fix up the Trinity Lane side and the corner, and then you pay.
I think
100.
planning looks at it as both frontages need to be, something needs to happen at both frontages. the board maybe traditionally has looked at it a little different.
Well, that's what saying is it recognize that a corner lot is unique, but
On the very cold-hearted side of it, he bought the lot knowing that it was a corner lot. And I'm going to fall back to, we didn't necessarily draft the law. We didn't draft what the Metro Council has said, and I haven't seen the hardship yet, except financial.
Can I address?
I mean, I know that's cold, but
Well, and also, I don't know if I really see a hardship. This is on a corridor. I mean, this is a major corridor. And so, especially on these types of intersections, sidewalks are very important. And so, it seems, and it looks like and it just seems like without more of a hardship, I don't know what the reason would be for granting the variance.
I agree, and I mean, we always end up being the bad guys, I guess, who can't give people ultimately what they're trying to give. But it goes back to what I said with the last applicant and what Mr. Lawless was saying, which is this was decided by the Metro Council, and it was their policy consideration. And if they wanted to say, if you live on a corner lot, you only have to pay for one side, they could have done that. I'm assuming that they all knew that there were corner lots that existed in the city, and so, I would be willing to approve with the conditions that planning recommended.
And I would support your motion.
So I'll make a motion then that, I'll make a,
Mr. Pepper fully state his motion before I second it.
I will make a motion that the applicant's application be approved with conditions asked for by Metro Planning, which is the applicant shall upgrade sidewalks to the arterial boulevard standard for the East Trinity Lane frontage and shall contribute to the in lieu of fund and dedicate a right-of-way for the Lissy Avenue frontage.
And I second your motion.
have a motion, have a second. Any other discussion?
I think I see your point that, so there was this 3% cap put in to protect homeowners from, presumably to protect homeowners from overpaying into the fund or paying more than they could afford. And so I think your point, Mr. Chairman, is that if he pays the full in lieu fund on Lissy and then also makes the sidewalk upgrades on East Trinity, that he would be paying more than the cap?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they would be paying more than the cap.
But we have no way to determine
No, well,
how
I mean,
much more that is.
Well,
But what evidence do we have that it's more than the cap? I mean, I'm
don't.
saying, like, how do we know how much improvement the sidewalk in front of East Trinity needs? If it doesn't need a lot of improvement, maybe he won't hit the cap.
well, I would, for him, for the dollar per square foot on, if he has I think it was more than 100 feet, was it?
120, I think.
120 feet. So 120 feet times $150 is what, $18,000? And so for that, it would have to be a 500,000 plus project at 3% to hit $15,000. And so if his building permit is more than $500,000, then the dollar per square foot is going to be cheaper. If it's less than that, he's going to hit the cap. So it seemed to be a fair assumption, based on the permit from, the last home and the size of this lot, that it would be most likely that the 3% cap would be hit. So there's no evidence that was presented or anything, but that just was my logic thinking, yeah, he's going to hit the 3% cap because of, of just a general knowledge of building costs and what the permit would probably be on it looks like a 50-foot by 120 lot. But, again, that's just, if it's going to hit some cap, it'll be the dollar per square foot or the 3%.
Are you making assumptions that are not in evidence? which is something that the lawyers hear all the time when we go bouncing into the courtroom. And planning, we're being asked to assume certain facts that we've got no basis to assume, and I guess that's why I'm sort of coming back to being we know what's out there. We don't know what his contract is. We don't know anything like that. I mean, we're being asked to make certain assumptions.
Well, all I'm saying, well, and again, I'm not, it really, it almost doesn't matter because it's just a range. We're arguing over a range and not, I mean, there is a cap. I mean, the absolute cap is going to be either the construction cost, $153 per, or whatever it is per foot, or 3%. I mean, there's, it's going to be one of those three. And if it is, the double dipping piece was that if it hits any, but you're basically saying, hey, you can pay the fee for this piece, which again will either be based on construction, 100 whatever it is per square foot, or 3%. But then we're also saying fix up the other. So we're asking him to do something on all frontages, which is certainly fine for this board to do. I mean, if 4 votes say do it, and it's just a little bit what we said on corner lots before. But Tommy made a good point earlier about, I mean, that you expressed your thoughts on what a corner lot is. So I guess that's really, I didn't want us to get too bogged down in my evidence that my assumptions that were presented without evidence.
But it wasn't as a criticism.
No. But it was again just explaining the thought process of what is the impact on a homeowner. But we've done this for several years now, and you're right, we didn't pass any of these laws, and the council has certainly seen and heard from people that have come before this board and from the codes department that have dealt with cases that have come before this board, and I totally understand that. I was more the odd one out, and y'all, it seemed like you may be more in agreement, but we have a motion in a second, so I don't want to.
I would ever say, Mr. Chairman, that you're the odd one out.
It's perfectly fair game if you do, and no offense taken. But were there any other comments or thoughts? So then we'll vote. The motion was to accept planning's recommendation, to allow variance with planning's recommendations, and made and seconded. And so all in favor of that, say aye, raise your hand. And those opposed, that passes.
Just need a break.
Quick break. Quick break.
Back from the break now, we're ready to proceed with case 2020-064 involving property at 1630 17th Avenue North. This is a request for a variance from sidewalk requirements to renovate a multi-unit development. Rather than building new sidewalks, they want to keep the current sidewalks as is and contribute to the in lieu fund. This is another application that went through the waiver process. The waiver as requested was denied, so he's now applying for a variance for the board to contribute in lieu. Before you is a zoning map showing the zoning of the property as RS5. Aerial photography showing you the property and surrounding areas. This is the site plan submitted by the applicant, and finally the current conditions of the property as well as up and down the street. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 64? Seeing none, Mr. Kelton, you'll have 5 minutes to make your presentation. Please be sure to identify yourself by name and address.
Thank you. I'm Jeremy Kelton. I live at 1610 Martin Street in Nashville. I appreciate you guys being here and looking at this today and helping me work on my fear of public speaking. I put pictures on each of or passed out to each of you guys of views up and down the street. I'm here mostly because there's a long uninterrupted view of straight sidewalk in both directions. That's really beautiful, and I would hate to bust it up by moving the sidewalk just in front of my property 4 or 5 street off, which is what the planning would require if built to the modern street standard. the money is about the same for a contribution to me or building the sidewalk, but I just think it would be bad for the neighborhood to have one property jutting into the yard and all the other sidewalks the rest of the way straight for pedestrians and whoever else is using the sidewalk. So what I'm asking for is the right to contribute to the in lieu of fund instead of being the only one on my whole block to build a sidewalk jutting into the yard.
What's the grass strip that they're wanting you to have is a 4-foot grass strip and a 5-foot sidewalk?
Yes, sir.
All right.
You don't want to be a pioneer.
I don't want to be the only one.
Is there any questions? Anything else to add?
Well, I guess real quick, planning is recommending against it because they say that the neighboring, and they say they take into account that the neighboring properties to the east and west don't have the grass strip, but I'm not sure if they took into account, like, as far as you can see in both directions, nobody has the grass strip. That was one thing, and the other recommendation was based on the area trying to promote density and mixed-use construction in the area, and my whole pocket there between D.B. Todd and Buchanan, it's all zoned single family, so I don't think more density is coming anytime soon. So that's all I've got.
So looking at this picture you submitted to us here, it looks like, tell me if I'm wrong, but it looks like a lot of the adjoining neighborhood is 50s and 60s housing, which is probably also going to be renovated at some point, which makes me think you may be the first to do this, but it's going to eventually, it will all connect up at some point. I mean, I don't see any house in here that looks like it was, they all look like
yes, sir.
50 and 60s houses that are probably going to be renovated.
Yes, sir. I agree with the age of construction, but I've driving around there again this morning just to survey it. There actually have been a lot of renovations on the street. I don't have front views of them, but I would peg it at probably 30 to 40% of the houses on the block have already been renovated, including the neighbor immediately to the east of me. So you're right, it could change in the future, but based on the houses already being renovated, and like that house behind the blue station wagon there is 20-year-old construction. That's not going to get renovated anytime soon. I just think it would be a really long time before everybody has to build a new sidewalk if that turns out to be the case.
Is there any other hardship that would keep you from building? I mean, you said you could build that new sidewalk. Right.
I can. I just think it would be bad for the neighborhood.
Okay. Anything else to add?
No, sir. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the board? All right, we'll close.
And just to be clear, this NES pole or this power pole or telephone pole is on your property?
It's on the corner. It's on the property line. So I don't know how we account for that, but if we have to move it, we'll have to account for that somehow.
Any other questions? All right, we'll close public hearing. All right, discussion.
Well, I'm glad to have one where the purported hardship is not, we don't want to pay money.
Yeah. Well,
which is that's a hardship I can relate to. I'm not,
right.
Making light of that, but it's.
Well, and I mean, they're
what they are.
I mean, and there are oftentimes we've had many cases in historic neighborhoods where, even Metro Historic and others have said, because you have walls and other things that, don't, give them a variance or give them a break. And then I kind of think about my previous commissioner, David Harper, who used to always, say, well, if they don't start it, like you said, it's got to start somewhere. Somebody's got to be a pioneer. And which is why I asked about the hardship. And, I've kind of made a case in the past for that the applicant has made, and yet I've seen there's because I think there is continuity and there's something that makes sense about that, but the law's been in place long enough now to where you do see the zigzags, and, you know, my new yoga studio is one of those that has a zigzag, and, you know, it's kind of nice that the little trees they planted in the curb and the grass strip are actually really very nice. So, I mean, and the zigzag is just not all that big of a deal. So, you know, I get the point, but I also think that it can be a nice thing, too.
Can I be the Grinch again? I mean, the Metro Council established what they wanted in their policy. But I do agree with you. It's kind of nice not to hear someone want to do something for the pure financial side of it. Change is going to start someplace. You've got to take a step at some point. And I think Metro, the council sort of went down that road, and now we're just working it. Sorry. Trying to be consistent today, so
Were you just making a motion, or were you making a comment?
Mine was more of a comment this time. I'm going to let Ross, you've been on such a roll today. I was going to.
Well, I'll make a motion then that the application be denied and that the applicant be required to build sidewalks
To the local street standard.
to the local street standard.
I'll second it.
Motion, and there's a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor of that motion, say aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Good luck. Thank you.
Moving on to the short-term rental docket, the last case for the board to consider is case 2020-056 involving property at 2208B White Avenue. This is a challenge to the zoning administrator's denial of a short-term rental permit due to operation after the permit expired. Is there anyone here in opposition to case 56? Are y'all here in support of case 56? Okay, so there's support here. Mr. McBroom will make the presentation on behalf of staff. After that, the applicant will have 5 minutes. Applicant and support will have 5 minutes. So anyone speaking to the board, please be sure to identify yourself by name and address. But Mr. McBroom will make our presentation first.
Okay. Good afternoon, board. This is advertising and operating a short-term rental property with an expired permit.
Sir, I can't hear you.
Sorry. Is that better? This is a case of advertising and operating a short-term rental with an expired permit. On 11/5/18, the owner-occupied permit was issued. On 11/5/19, it subsequently expired. On 1/9/2020, a notice of violation was sent. And on 1/10/2020, the host cease and desist letter was sent. The last ad, there were 2 ads. The last ad was removed on January 16/20, and there were 6 documented stays after the permit expired, but there were no documented stays after the letters were sent and received, and there were no documented complaints on the property.
If you would, state your name and address and tell us what happened.
Yes, I'm Robert Hudson, 2208 White Avenue. I was the applicant for my mother, Wilma Settles, 2208 White Avenue. We just didn't know that the permit expired. It's not on the permit paper itself, and so once we knew, we did take the ad down. It was put back up by mistake by one of the home Airbnb companies, but I have an email here saying there was a system error and that they put it back up by accident.
But you all didn't rent it after you got the letter, you didn't rent it again?
No.
And that coincides with what we heard from the
Yeah, so after the letter, we didn't rent it again. We just absolutely didn't know. It was something we built for my mom. It's her retirement. We've had great reviews all year. No complaints. We had no reason not to renew. It was working really well. There was no hiding or trying to do anything underhand. It was just really straight up oversight on our part that we missed it. And so we're just here today to try to get it reinstated and get her some income going back in.
Right.
Jesus, Lord Jesus.
Yeah, but other than that, it was just simple as that.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there any questions from the board? Was there anybody else? You said you were here in support. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, these
or-
are our neighbors. We've
Okay.
been in the neighborhood 37 years, and we're pretty much an anchor of the neighborhood, and they were just here to support us on their own behalf.
Any other?
Who manages it? Do you,
No, we actually have a manager.
You
that
have a
manages
manager for it?
We have. We're totally hands off. Like I said, it was just for her, and we got people in place. All the taxes, everything always been paid. Property taxes, city taxes, state taxes. So it was just clearly just an oversight. We had no reason to operate without it.
May I say something?
Yeah.
When the man put the thing on my door, I immediately came down. In fact, I was so stressed out. I came down here to rectify it, and that day, we took everything down. And the people that come to my Airbnb, it's in my backyard, and I meet them. I make a point to meet everybody that comes through there, and usually the guests that comes in, they repeat, like they have children at Belmont, Vanderbilt, and one has a daughter that goes to W.O. Smith's camp. And I never had any incidents. In fact, my neighbor next door has rented for their mother that comes from Europe, because they have a small apartment. And the neighbors are very complimentary of it, and they support me a lot. And this was just something, I never even had a traffic violation.
So it's at your home, though, right?
It's my home.
You said you had somebody else that helps you with it, but it's not a investment or property.
No, it's
something
right
at
there
your home
at my home.
It's a dadu. It's detached.
Yeah, you just don't have to clean it and manage it when they come.
No,
All right.
I pay out more than I make. No.
All right, I just wanted to clarify that because just to make sure it wasn't just what type it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Did you have anything else to add?
Nah, that was it.
Okay.
and I've watched the heads up behind me.
All right, so if nothing else to add, we'll close the public hearing and have a discussion.
Would you like us to?
Sir, if you like, I'm sorry, sir, I'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to speak.
Like us to, but
No, if you.
If it's not
No, I don't know if it's necessary or not, but the applicant has 2 minutes and 31 seconds, and you've sat here for a while. If you'd like to say something, please feel free. I mean, it's certainly your right, but you don't have to. I mean, we know you're here in support, and you've nodded with everything they've said, but I don't want to take away your opportunity to speak because you certainly have a right to if you'd like to. But if you choose to speak, you need to come up to the table and press the button. Just state your name and address and why you're in support.
Pete Horton and my wife Betty behind me, and we've been married for 63 years, and we've been in the accommodations business for the entire time, self-employed in a variety of ways. In Vermont, we did vacation stuff. When we moved down here, the house we bought, is it coming through? It had 2 apartments, one upstairs, one in the attic, and one over the garage. So we kept on with that. But it's essential to our business that the neighborhood go right. So we are active in the neighborhood association. We're active in Metro Police Neighborhood Watch. We go to Kobe Sledge's District 17 breakfast, and we want to make sure that everything goes right for our tenants, our residents. And this lady is an outstanding citizen. She maintains an outstanding property. They called it for years the best-looking place on White Avenue. And from the reviews we read, she's running an outstanding short-term rental. So this is a type of woman that would get the blue ribbon if you were given blue ribbons for people that did short-term rentals. And we need her in business. I mean, we just had lunch, and it's nothing but bad news. What's the hurt here? You take income away from a lady that must be near retirement age because of some administrative conflict, a misunderstanding. I'm sure the fact that she doesn't have her didn't meet the permit deadline, it's not totally their fault. There's got to have been a screw up of some sort in the codes. You don't have the right wording on the letter. You don't, you say things like docket. Who knows what a docket is if you're looking for the agenda of the BZA, you know? I mean, go outside and look back and see what did you do wrong. So she does everything right as far as we can see, walking by and driving by every day. We need people like that doing stuff like that in the neighborhood. Please let her get back into income.
All right. Any questions? All right, well, thank you. Thank you. Anybody else have anything to add? All right, we will close public hearing. Anybody want to move?
Well, I don't know if this is one, I don't think we have discretion anymore. In this case, it has to be a 6-month penalty, is that right?
The law in effect at the time the permit was issued is the law that governs. So when this permit was issued, you had discretion, so you do.
And
It's
I
getting
make a
more and
motion
more
that she-
convoluted with every
Second.
passing ordinance, but
Second.
we're doing the best we can.
all right, so there's a motion that
The applicant can reapply for her permit on Monday.
Yeah, and I second it.
Oh, thank you.
all right, so it's motion, it's a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? All right, so that means you're eligible to reapply for your permit on Monday, but you don't have a permit until you get the permit because it had expired long enough that we can't reinstate it. If you had renewed it within 30 days, there's a grace period. You pass the grace period, again, I understand why, but you don't have a permit, so wait until when you get your permit, you're good to go, but you can apply for a permit on Monday.
Put it on your calendar.
Well,
Yeah.
it may, but you know now not to let it expire. So when you get that permit, you got to renew it every year. So just remember to do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
Thank God.
And if you ever have guests who need an Airbnb.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.